Hey everybody, it's Sean here, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about marine mammal stranding networks. As you probably know, marine science is a big thing for me, and marine mammals were one of the first things that got me into that field. And of course, when I went into college and I studied marine science, I got into all other aspects of things, estuaries, macroalgae, invertebrates, but I always have a soft spot in my heart for marine mammals. And I've been lucky enough to be part of the marine mammal stranding networks here in South Florida. And this past week, we had a juvenile sperm whale that actually did come on shore here in northern Palm Beach County. And I'd like to share you a little bit about that experience from the perspective of a volunteer in the stranding network itself. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I do produce videos on a weekly basis about all sorts of marine science and nature topics and field experiences here in South Florida and beyond. It can happen at any time and any place. All it takes is an observant beachgoer or boater to notice a marine mammal in distress. And of course, as we say nowadays, there's an app for that. Here in the southeast region of the US, NOAA Fisheries has put out a free app to help report stranding events. Hey everybody! So about 1:45 this afternoon, I got a text from the MARS, Marine Animal Rescue Society stranding network, that there is a stranded whale or dolphin near the Juneau Pier. I got a text saying it was a sperm whale, but I'm not sure if it's a pygmy or what. So I got coverage for my classes, and I am on my way to the beach. Well, I'm here at the beach, so we're gonna go check it out. There's already news channels here, so should be interesting. There's even a helicopter up there. I arrived on the scene about an hour and a half after the stranding network was initiated, mainly because I live a little farther away. By this time, our more local stranding network volunteers were joined by Florida Fish and Wildlife, who took control of the scene. This happened to be a live juvenile sperm whale. At this point, members from Florida Fish and Wildlife, as well as the various veterinarian professionals that were arriving on scene, were evaluating the health of the animal. As volunteers, we were primarily on standby mode, keeping the animal cool and wet, and keeping the crowds away from it. This can be a very long process for volunteers. We were taking turns helping to support the animal, and some of us were staying in those positions for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, which can actually get a little painful after a while. Now, unfortunately, this particular whale ended up passing away, and I happened to be alongside it at that point in time, and this picture was taken right after that, and that's me standing in the yellow shirt. At this point, one of the scientists from Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, Wendy Marks, who's there in the navy blue shirt there, and several of the veterinarians wanted to make sure that the whale had passed on, so they were checking for a heartbeat. This is a really difficult time for us as volunteers because we instantaneously get attached to these animals. It's really hard not to, especially if you get the chance to look into their eyes. There's just so much there. And while the scientists and Fish and Wildlife and these professionals are basically busy making decisions, we're sort of sitting there dealing with that emotional baggage right up front. Once it's officially determined that the whale has passed on, our purpose switches from being more of a rescue focus to a recovery and a scientific investigation. And this process begins right there on the beach as scientists sort of look over the body. In this case, the lower jaw, you can see the teeth of this juvenile are still yet to erupt. Otherwise, we have to get this very large animal off the beach. This particular juvenile sperm whale was about 14 foot long, and it took on average at least about 15 people to move it a few feet every time we did a push. Then we had to get it up a very narrow staircase up to the road. You'll have to excuse the lack of pictures and videos from this process because I was busy lifting. Once we got it up to the roadway, Harbor Branch actually has a really nice van, we call it the Mamulance, that also has a lift that allows us to really get these large animals up into the truck. From here, as a stranding network volunteer, our job is sort of done. Now it's turned over to the scientists. Dr. Marks and her team will be going through the necropsy process, which is basically an autopsy on an animal, to try and determine what they can from the body.
What you're going to doing the necropsy into the night tonight.
Right.
But we'll be taking samples from all of its different organs and trying to learn more about why it died. And a lot of times you don't get that information until the pathologist looks at all of the individual organs under a microscope, brings us back the results. Marine mammal pathologists are rare, so they usually have a backlog. So unfortunately it'll probably be several months, but like I said, my email address is Wendy, or it's wmarks@nyu.edu.
And those of us who...
Oh, we got another stranded whale off the beach. Harbor Branch is here to take it and do a necropsy, and hopefully we can find a little bit more about what maybe happened to this very young sperm whale calf. So there's a couple things to note with marine mammal strandings. First of all, you do need to be trained to be a part of one of these networks. That's to make sure that you know the proper protocols and rules to be able to keep yourself safe, the general public safe that might be there, and of course to treat the animal correctly. And if you notice, I really didn't tell you a lot about what was going on medically with the whale. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I really don't know all the details. As a support staff there, I'm basically working to support what's going on, which includes crowd control, helping to support the animal, moving the animal. And the scientists there on site don't always have time to sit there and brief us volunteers as to exactly why or when or what they're doing. So it's kind of not something I can share. I did hear some things and talk to some of the veterinarians, but I don't share that particular information until they're ready to actually put out reports on that, after they've gone through the process of doing all the studies that they're going to do. So that leads to the question, why do marine mammals strand? And the truth is, we don't have that many answers. Sometimes we know it is natural causes, such as the animal being maybe old or sick in some way. And sometimes it's man-made causes, which can be anything from the buildup of toxic chemicals and substances in the tissues, toxicity basically, through bioaccumulation processes in the food chain. Sometimes some of these deep water animals will actually consume plastics thinking they're food. That can get stuck in their guts and they can stop digesting. Sometimes it's acoustic damage from various man-made activities going on in the ocean. So it really does vary quite a bit. And it takes a long time and a long process of time to figure this out. So the best thing you can do to help prevent these types of incidents from happening is to treat the ocean with respect and keep it clean. Well, thanks for hanging out and listening to this story today. If you've had any experiences with marine mammal strandings, let me know down in the comments below, and also let me know if you would like to hear more of my Stranding Network stories over the years. I'd be happy to share them. Other than that, make sure you subscribe to see some of my weekly videos that I put out there, and of course, keep it clean out there in the environment. See you next time.